This video will provide a deep dive into JSON parsing, covering core concepts, advanced features, and best practices. We will explore how to convert JSON strings into JavaScript objects with precision and control. You'll learn to customize the parsing process using reviver functions and how to implement robust error handling and security measures. The goal is to give you a comprehensive understanding of JSON parsing in JavaScript. The JSON.parse method is used to parse a JSON string and construct the JavaScript value or object described by that string. The basic syntax involves calling JSON.parse and then passing the JSON string as an argument. For example, you can create a constant called value and assign the result of JSON.parse, passing a JSON string. It's important to note that JSON.parse will throw a syntax error if the provided string is not valid JSON. Here are two examples to illustrate. The first example parses a simple JSON string with a name and age and assigns it to a variable called person. The second example parses a complex nested JSON containing user information like name and skills. The reviver function is a powerful, optional second parameter in the JSON.parse method. It allows you to transform values as they are being parsed. Consider this example where we have a JSON string that includes a date and a rating. We can pass a function as the second argument to JSON.parse. This function takes two parameters, key and value. Inside this function, we can check if the current key is date, and if it is, we create a new date object using the value. Similarly, we check if the key is rating. If it is, we convert the rating to a floating point number. If not, we return the value as is. The reviver function transforms strings to date objects and string numbers to actual numbers, filtering or modifying any value as needed. JSON parsing can often lead to errors, particularly when the provided string is not valid JSON. Here, we will discuss common JSON parsing errors and how to handle them safely. A good approach is to create a function named safe.JSON.parse, which takes a string as an argument. Within the function, we enclose the JSON.parse method in a try-catch block. If parsing is successful, we return an object containing the parsed data and error set to null. If any exception occurs during parsing, we catch it and return an object with data set to null and the error message. Here are a few examples of common JSON errors. First, an unexpected token error occurs when there are missing quotes around property names. Another common error is an unexpected end of JSON input, which occurs when there are missing closing braces. The best practice here is to wrap JSON.parse in a try-catch, validate the JSON structure, and provide meaningful error messages. Let's explore some common patterns and best practices for parsing JSON in JavaScript. The first pattern we'll discuss is the schema validation pattern. Here we have a function called validateUserSchema which takes data as an argument. This function checks for the presence of the required fields such as ID, name, and email. We also have a JSON string representing user data. We parse the JSON and validate the data. If the validation fails, an error is thrown, indicating the data is invalid. Another pattern is providing default values. The parseWithDefaults function takes a JSON string and an optional defaults object. If parsing is successful, it creates a new object by combining the default values and parsed values. If any error occurs during the parsing, it returns defaults. This pattern allows providing sensible default values for missing values in JSON. Security is a crucial aspect when dealing with JSON parsing. Here, we'll look at potential security risks and how to mitigate them. One common risk is JSON injection. By using a string with proto, we can modify object properties and create vulnerabilities. To mitigate this, use object.createNull. Another risk is denial of service attacks through deeply nested JSON, which can cause performance issues. To mitigate this, we should implement size and depth limits. Here are a few security best practices. Create a function called secureJSON.parse, which will take a string and a max size. This function will first check for size and throw an error if the size is exceeded. The input string is then parsed and the output is sanitized, preventing any kind of attacks. Always validate input before parsing, sanitize the parsed output, use content security policies, and implement rate limiting for better security. Optimizing JSON parsing for performance is critical in high-performance applications. One of the key methods is streaming parse patterns. The stream parse function takes a JSON stream as an argument. It creates a text decoder to decode incoming chunks. The decoded chunks are added to a buffer. If the buffer forms a complete JSON, it is parsed and yielded, the buffer is cleared. This pattern is memory efficient for large JSON objects and reduces the peak memory usage. Here are two optimization techniques. First one is pre-allocation, where arrays are pre-allocated if the size is known. And the second one is lazy parsing, where only required properties are parsed using the reviver function. Always profile before optimizing and consider memory versus speed trade-offs. In this video, we've explored various aspects of JSON parsing in JavaScript, from basic syntax to advanced techniques. Here's a quick recap. Always use try-catch to handle potential errors during parsing. Validate both the input and output of parsing operations using schema validation before proceeding. Use the reviver function to transform your data during parsing. When it comes to security, remember to sanitize the input, implement size limits, and prevent JSON injections. For optimizing performance, use streaming for large JSON, implement lazy parsing, and always profile before optimizing. JSON.parse is powerful, but requires careful handling for security, reliability, and performance. Remember to implement these best practices in your JavaScript projects. If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.